Hey guys, today we're gonna talk about demo watching and how to do it more efficiently. And I know there are a lot of ways to do it, but I'm going to go over my own experience throughout my career, what I used to do when I was amateur and then professional gamer, as well as how to take notes of what you see. First of all, I know that there are a lot of CSGO external softwares that can help you with like demo watching and analysis of it. But for the sake of this video, I'm gonna keep it completely within CSGO and I'm gonna use built-in CSGO demo UI just to showcase that it can get the job done. Main reason I'm not using these softwares is that oftentimes you have to pay for them and not everyone can afford it. So that's why I'm gonna skip those for this video. I already assume that you're a little bit advanced and you know how to load the demo, but in case you're a beginner, here's a quick speed tutorial just for you. So you want to go to the Google, you can type Team X versus Team Y event HLTV formula. So in our case, let's go for the Fnatic versus NIP DreamHack Winter 2013 HLTV. Click first link, which should be HLTV.org website. Click Go TV Demo to start download and extract the file to your Counter-Strike folder, which is right now on the screen. You can open CSGO now, open console and type play demo and the file name that you just downloaded. You can hit enter, let the demo load, and that is it. For demo UI, to adjust speed of a demo, rewind or skip rounds, hit Shift plus F2 and you can see the tab. So let's start with the individual purpose. And for individual purpose, you generally want to divide it whether you are preparing for a match, therefore you anti-strat, or you are in your own free time of individual practice, firing up a demo to learn something new, therefore you learn. When we're talking about anti-stratting or anti-stratting, I don't know, I will keep messing those up anyway. It has to be said that not every team has option to have an analyst or coach, so the match preparations fall under players' responsibilities. And it is not only IGL's responsibility as oftentimes is perceived. Everyone can benefit from watching these demos before the game, whether you are like Oper or the lurker or anchor. In my own experience, whenever I prepare for the match, I oftentimes find myself in situations where I'm saying to myself in my head, damn, I wouldn't be able to get this kill if it wouldn't be for the anti-strat before the game. It definitely can and is helping for you to perform better. So for example, if you're Oper and are about to face Vitality on Mirage, you would open their latest demo on that map and spectate only Zowie to see how he moves, what peaks he's cautious about and what he dies to often, etc. So you get the idea, and now we can move to learning by demo watching. By watching a demo, you do not want to just load the demo and sit for an hour aimlessly. Set a goal for what you want to look for and improve on. So this could be something like how Robs is taking T apartments on Inferno, or what kind of banana takes does G2 use on their gun rounds, or how Cadian plays with an AWP and what position does he take against force buys. So it's very specific, but you want to make it as specific as possible in order to really know what you're looking for so you can skip around. So you definitely want to fast forward a lot of things. Once you get good at it, you will be later on able to watch a whole demo on 2x speed when at first place it looks like you're missing a lot of stuff and it's not really optimal, but in reality you don't. And you know what they say, watching a demo is one of the most boring things you can do as a pro player for CSGO, and it is oftentimes true. So you just have to like go through it and grind through it, and eventually you will save a lot of time by watching it at 2x speed or even 3x speed. Next thing is you want to watch players that play the same position as you. If you're a Mirage anchor, you're not gonna benefit from watching simpler roaming around the map and getting 40 kills. Although it's going to be very enjoyable to watch him getting into a lot of action, you're not gonna, learn a lot of things that you can pick up on for your own game. You have to be very cautious to not fall into the trap of watching only the highlights players, but truly watch those that sometimes even struggle. See what they're doing because they're struggling, etc. So this can help you a lot. Be very careful of your position. So let's say you're Mirage A lurker on T side, you want to watch the best players in that position, which from the top of my head, Nico, Robs, Electronic. So you want to download those demos in case you want to learn that position a little bit better. So when you decide on who to watch and what do you want to focus on, start noting things down. And this is like the most valuable piece of information you get from this video, because to this day, I see like 90%, in my experience, 90% of the pro players, they do not take notes when they watch demos. I really don't understand why. You can just try it. Trust me, it's game changing. Usually when I ask them why they don't do it, is that they say they don't need it, right? But to me, it's just like lazy excuse to not do it because they haven't found a perfect way or a good way enough or fun way enough to do it for themselves, because there is no way that you can remember all these things coming forward to you if you're watching a couple of demos daily, basically, to keep everything in check and keep track of. And also one important thing to note is that writing notes does not only help you memorize what you learn better, it also helps you understand it and you are able to revisit it at some point in the future, right? So whenever you did some anti-strat for a certain player in a certain area, you don't have to go back after 2 months and redo all that work. You can just update what you already have and revisit it and tweak it a little bit depending on what you see in their latest demos. So I've experimented with a couple of things already when it comes to note taking, but what I found works best for me is simple combination of Google Docs document, which is pretty self-explanatory, and I pair it up with an app called Notability for my iPad. And this is completely optional. I understand not everyone has an iPad at hand, but I found myself using this more and more just because of its convenience together with Google Docs. It's completely uploaded and backed up to the cloud, so I can access it whenever I want. It's on my phone, you know, when I travel for tournaments, when I'm at events where there's no PC, I can just scroll through my phone and find it instantly there, and it's ready for me to read or use. So how I use this Notability app is quite unique, I would say. What I do is whenever I watch a demo on computer and I see some setup that I want to quickly note down, I'll just take a quick picture with my iPad. If I see a certain execute that I want to go over or I want to like take a mental note of it, I just take a video of like 5 to 10 seconds of that execute with an overview. I get to pretty easily with my pen go over that video and draw over it and see the pathway and write it down for myself to see it quite easy. So this is something more convenient compared to Google Docs, where I would have to like take a screenshot, go there, paste it, write a couple of things over it, and I wasn't really able to draw over it, and the videos were a complete mess. So the pictures were still okay, but the videos not so much. So that's why I pair it up with Notability, but like 90% of my own personal notes comes through Google Docs. So as I said, Notability is completely optional, but I'm gonna mention it here because I have some experience and it really works for me. If you do have something like that, please hit me up in the like comment section below. I'm down to try as much things as possible. I'm open to new stuff as well. So yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts about it. So and then after every demo I watch, I try to write down a summary where I mention a couple of things that I learned or I generally liked what I was seeing, and put down some of my general thoughts as well. Sometimes I'm feeling really lazy and I write like 1 or 2 sentences about it, but sometimes I feel like I learned a lot and it comes down to like 5 or 10 or 15 bullet points that I write down. And I did something like this already on this channel before, where I analyze certain players on certain positions and I try to teach you how I do it myself. I do it also live on my stream, so you can check that out. I do it completely for free and I uploaded a couple of blog pieces on my website, so you can go there and check it. It's going to be somewhere linked on the screen right now or down in the description below as well. So feel free to check out how I take my general approach to note-taking these things. And now from individual purpose, we can move to the team purpose. First thing I want to mention is do not focus on pistol rounds unless you are specifically looking for new strats or copying the pistol rounds, or you want to work on these rounds in general. It is completely useless in my opinion. They're more team-oriented, and oftentimes, even in our team, honestly, we have certain pistol round set and we change it before the game depending on who we face and how we feel about it. And we do pistol round that we have never done before, even in practice, because pistol rounds are so easy. There's only like a couple of nades involved. Most of the players anyway have Kevlars, and it's easy to explain, understand that you're not really in need of a dry run compared to strats that are happening in the gun rounds. In my own experience, pistol rounds, don't even look at them. Every map in the map pool in Counter-Strike has some one key information on T side that is absolutely must to know and will help you the games over the opponents that might be better individually or even strategically. If you're low on time before the game, you roughly know what kind of map you want to play in either best of 3 or best of 1. Try to use this graph to know what you really want to look for during those couple of minutes before the game. So for Nuke, you want to go over outside smokes, what kind of patterns they throw and what they do with it. For Vertigo, you want to know how they fight A ramp, both on T and CT side. For Dust 2, it is important to know what their long take looks like. For Inferno, it is vital to know how they fight Banana and how they approach the Banana takes. For Overpass, you want to know how they take map control towards A mainly. For Mirage, how they're fighting for mid control early round or mid round, whatever suits you. And for Ancient, this is kind of hard to tell as meta is still evolving, but in my opinion, you want to know how they take B lobby / cave control / ruins area, generally how they move around the map towards there. Now, if you want to really know how the team plays a certain map, you have to watch at least 2 or 3 or preferably more demos for that map. And this helps you to seeing overlapping patterns in their gameplay. If some things overlap and they reoccur in every game, you can bet that they will use it probably against you as well, because this is something they're either comfortable on, or they have great success in, or they try to work on that lately, and this is their general approach to the map in this period of time. So it is pretty pointless to watch a Puck team play, right? They don't have any structure, there is not much to look for in order to exploit it, because they always play kind of differently. What you should do instead is to note down their positions on the map, what each player plays. This will help you with the rotations and as well as reading the game a little bit. So figure out who their Oper is, figure out who their lurker on T side is, figure out who their anchors are for both A and B sides. And this is especially good in open qualifiers where you have like 15 minutes between each best of 1 game. Quickly check their previous map, what they played before. If it's likely that you're gonna end up on the same map as well, you can bet that they will do a lot of things similar, if not completely the same, because they will be first of all unaware that you even checked that demo, and second of all, if they won that previous game, they're going to be comfortable doing it moving forward. You can exploit these open qualifiers a little bit this way. This is definitely something that I was doing back in the days where I was still amateur and I was attending some open qualifiers, and we were beating some of the teams that were just not simply expecting us to look back on their demos and try to exploit their play depending on what they played before. Unless you want to specifically improve on force rounds and anti-ecos and pistol rounds, don't watch them, skip them. Just focus on gun rounds most of the time. You want to know how the team is approaching their early round scenarios, so how they take certain map controls. You want to know what are their reactions in the mid round, so are they prone to rather A, split B, split, hit A, hit B, go back and do executes, etc, etc. And you want to know that late round can be usually disregarded, because by the time the timer on the clock hits, let's say like 30 seconds, the round is rarely 5v5 or 4v4. So these are the clutch scenarios which are too situational to have any value when you're doing analysis. For sure, there are some exceptions, but for the sake of the video, we're gonna say that clutches are mostly individualistic. Teams adapt to each other, so it is really no value for you to analyze them too deeply. Good rule of thumb that I always follow is to skip clutches, skip ecos, skip pistol rounds. You want to skip any save attempts to save time, obviously, and also skip freeze times and any poses, obviously, again. So you see that now you skip a lot of rounds, that leaves you with more time to spot whether they're playing, puggy style, or they're more like execute heavy team, they play slow default, or they're going for aggressive picks, are they relying on trades, or they're doing set pieces over and over again. So this is something that is of real value, and these things happens mostly in gun rounds. So you want to focus on them 100 Now let's touch a little bit on the set pieces or executes. They mainly happen on T side, right? And it's easy to spot in the demos. Everyone stops at a certain timing, they set up the nades, they look around a little bit, they release it on the roughly the same time towards the same general area, and they hit that. So they execute. This is perfect moment for your anti-strat to come and play, because you want to check what positions are not molded, what isn't smoked, what is not flashed or not double naded, and you can play those positions in order to counter that specific execute, right? You want to see the whole round from the setup of the execute until the very last trade on the side that they're hitting, because you want to see what their running patterns are, what are they clearing with their crosshairs, and how are they approaching the side in general. Usually a good indicator of set piece coming into play is that there are 5 terrorists alive. Usually these set pieces involve every member of a team, so you should not be worried about them too much when the round hits like these middle stages, when it's like 4v3 and 3v3 scenarios. Better teams, obviously, they have some 4-man executes, and in some rare cases even 3-man executes on some maps. Those teams are usually really good, and if you're playing a lower level, it shouldn't be too big of a concern for you for now. The most important thing is to write things down. Whatever you see, just note it down. The most optimal way would be to have like a team document or a shared drive between every player, or you have like a Discord channel where you keep updating stuff. And us personally, and actually in my previous team, we use Discord. Now in Apex, we use Google Drive, where we have like a 30 teams kind of noted down in various Google Docs on each map, and these teams we face often. They're similar level than us, and we meet them in all kinds of tournaments, so it gets a little bit repetitive, and it's really good that we have this space on the internet or a cloud that we get to save our things, because you never know, whenever you face an opponent tomorrow that we prepare for today, we might face them in 2 to 3 weeks again on the same maps in a different tournament. So it really helps to have these things written down so we can revisit them later. It just saves a lot of time, because we get to go back and remind ourselves how they actually played before, what kind of executes they have, what kind of style they like to play. If they play differently against us than what we had in those original nodes, we can update it a little bit and tweak it to our preference. So it's really helpful to have these things written down, and as I said in the individual practice, it's always nice whenever you do some work to save it, be able to revisit it at some point in the future. So I rarely do team-oriented demo watching anymore, because with the analysts and help of the coaching staff, it's just for me no need to do that, because they always do it for me. But for those who are unable to get this kind of help, I highly suggest like fire up a stream, either a private stream on Discord or private stream on YouTube, and go over a certain demo together as a team, as a part of your practice. You can take a half an hour and watch a certain side on, let's say, T side nuke, how they play, what smokes they like to throw, what kind of execute they have on A side, what kind of pops they have towards A side, and talk about it as a team. And this is important, that everyone gives their input, even if it's a RAM player, to give his input on, let's say, how to counter outside things. He should have some say in it, because it's always better to have one extra player to give his opinion on a certain play style, and it helps you develop this good culture in the team, that everyone is part of the argument, but not in a bad way. It's more of like constructive way to come into conclusion that benefits every single person on the team. All right, let's move on to some closing thoughts. In general, my experience with demo watching is very positive, and I highly encourage it. The more I play, I always had this feeling where the demo watching is helping me more than, like, let's say, dad matching, and almost every demo I pick up and I watch either on stream or in my individual practice, I always find some little nuance or little new thing that I can implement into my own gameplay, whether it's like extra lineup that I wasn't really aware before for the nade, or a certain angle clearing, etc, etc. Always something new to find, and people get creative, and you have to spot it and be ahead yourself. I used to hate it when I was younger. When I was a younger player, I hated watching demos. I wanted to just spend time on the server, playing, shooting, practicing. But once I remember that one of my ex-coaches told me, I'm gonna quote it, imagine watching a demos for 2 hours and compare it to playing a deathmatch for 2 hours. Can you see the potential difference? In 2 hours of watching a player play your spot, you can develop a whole new technique of playstyle that you can start to work on and understand. This will not only win you games, but whole tournaments. Meanwhile, 2 hours of deathmatch will have very little impact on the way you play, if any. So this does not mean that you should be stopping your deathmatch sessions, obviously, or whatever. But I implemented this rule to keep myself more productive. Is for every 30 minutes of deathmatch that I do, I have to watch one demo, and I do it with fast forwarding techniques that I mentioned previously. It's much faster than usual. I do it not only to see what I can learn, but also what certain players are doing, just in case I will face him in some point in the future and he will be my opponent. I already know what works against him because I saw how he likes to play, what positions he likes, and what are his routines or default routines, etc. So watching your own demo can be a pain sometimes, and I must admit I rarely do it, especially because I'm a very reactive player. I react to the comms. Oftentimes you are unable to get these comms. It's impossible to get it from the demo itself, and I don't always have a recording, so you have to take it with a grain of salt. And what I love to do, on the other hand, is to bring up the situations that I screwed up, let's say, in my individual performance, and I want to ask my teammates their opinion on it. What do they think I could be doing differently in order to be in position to help them as well? So usually these external opinions on your game lead to constructive criticism, and this is always something you should look for. Last thing I want to mention is that I have played with teammates that said, anti-strat is useless, it just makes me play differently, the way I'm not used to, and I'm thinking about it too much, and it's just not good. Honestly, this is absolutely terrible mindset, and I'm 100% confident that if they don't change this attitude, they will never be like elite gamers in CSGO. It is your own responsibility to log in your knowledge and anti-strat knowledge, and it is also your responsibility to use it correctly at correct times. And if you don't know when you need it, it is something specifically you have to work on, and it has nothing to do with anti-strat being bad or anything like that. I feel like it's just an excuse for a player to ignore work of analysts and coach and teammates because they're unable to handle it. So if you like what I went over here, I suggest you to click on this playlist that is going to appear right now on the screen. This is the playlist where I went over some analysis of other games, of other pro players, and how I do it specifically. I'm very sure Zipnix realized it's one way, so he just pre-fired it, and that gives a cue to Exhal that there are two guys working in apps, which is pretty interesting info. So this was more of a general talk, but right now in this playlist you can see what I actually mean by these things. You can also check out my Twitch live stream, because I do these things sometimes live on stream, and I would highly appreciate if you would, hang out in the chat and tell me what you think about it. Because as well, you dictate the peak, so he might not be ready for it. He might be thinking he's not peaking, and then suddenly after 2 seconds you peak, let's say, instead of instant repeat. And I also transformed these videos into short block pieces. It's completely for free. It's on my website. It's gonna be down in the description below. If you don't feel like watching video and you can go through the notes itself, it's gonna be there, as I said, completely for free. And if it interests you, I would be happy to have you look at it. And that's it. If you really like this video, hitting a like would mean a lot, and hitting subscribe would be just awesome. And if you have any suggestion what I should go over for the next video, feel free to drop it down in the comment section below, because even this video was recommended by some of you guys throughout my Discord server, where I take these suggestions as well, because you felt a need to get a guide for demo watching. So I obliged, and I'm happy to help. So yeah, I hope you liked it, and bye bye, see you in the next one.